Good morning and welcome to Peace Out, where we are all learning together to peace out. Y'all should be able to say that for me now or instead of me, right? Aren't we just, isn't this just a process? And we are all just participating in the process of piecing out. There's some alliteration for you, right? But participating in the process of piecing out every day. Every day. You can't do that, a P with that. So, oh well. Anyway, I hope you're having a good morning. I hope you're having a good week. Hope you're having a good day. Hope you're having a good fill in the blank wherever you are in life right now. I hope it is good for you. But sometimes, even in good situations, things can get kind of messy. I want to talk about a story this morning where things got really messy. Isn't that what makes a movie good or a book good? It's the conflict and the resolution and the resolution has to be just right, right? The conflict has to be believable. And the resolution has to be just right, or the book's no good and the movie's no good. A bad ending is just puts a bad taste in your mouth, right? For a movie, it's like, that was horrible. The ending was just not right, and so it's the conflict that makes it interesting for sure. Have you ever found yourself in just messy situations? Don't they? Messy situations just happen, right? In life, we have life. We're going to have situations, and some of them are going to get complex. They're going to get complicated. They're going to get messy. They're going to get, I don't even know what to do with them. They're confusing, right? Things can get messy. Here's what I've been looking at over the last 12 hours or so. Last night and this morning, I've gone back to a story that I go back to a lot, but I saw something just a little bit different again. Like I said, the word does not change. It is the solid rock in our lives, right? But our perspectives change, and our experiences help change our perspectives of different things as we read the scriptures and as we read the word. The word is alive. It's active. It's sharper than a two-edged sword. It's our bullets in our weapon that we use to fight against the enemy. It's our shield. It's our belt of truth. The word is solid in our lives, but our lives, as we mature, hopefully things change and we change, and we can see different things that we didn't see before. I've read this, I don't even know how many times I've read this story. I don't know how many times I've talked about this story here on Peace Out. I don't know how many times I've used this story in my devotions for caregivers. But once again, I saw two things in this story. One was pointed out by a third party as I was studying some more. I wanted to know some more in-depth knowledge just in the natural. And one thing was pointed out. And the other was, wow, I never saw this before. All these times I've read this story. You can maybe even guess what it is because we go here a lot. But it's the story of Hagar, Sarah, and Abraham. And here's what was pointed out to me. This is the first time in scriptures that somebody gave God a name. She said, he's the God who sees. El Roi. I don't know how to say it, but El Roi, the God who sees me. God sees me. It's the first time somebody, now we know in just a couple of chapters, about 5 chapters to be exact, 6 chapters, Abraham's going to say he's Jehovah Jireh, my provider. He's going to call God by a specific name. He is Jehovah Jireh. He is my provider. But here she says he's the God who sees me. Right? And this is the first time that God came to Hagar. The second thing I thought about this story, well, she's actually our first example of a single parent in the scriptures. Now, I was a single parent. I raised my kids. I won't say I raised them alone because I had my parents' help. They had aunts and uncles that helped. I had help along the way, but I raised my kids as a single parent from the time they were 9 and 11. I was a single parent, and I never saw that. I never thought about that. But when Abraham, now this is the first time they kicked her out or she left. And then the next time she leaves, she's on her own the next time. And she becomes a single parent and she raises her child in a society and in a culture that was not cool. It's more acceptable now. It's not ideal, but it's not as such of a stigma as it was then. She had no way to make a living. She had no way to take care of that son. And she is our first example of a single parent, which we don't have much about her. And that's why I was looking it up. I was like, what happened to her? What happened to her? Some say she became like a queen, a princess, and ruled over some things. And there was a lot of different things, but I haven't dug deep enough because I stopped at this part where I saw that she was the first person in the scriptures that gave God a name. She was that up close and personal with God that she gave him a name. But here's what I want to talk about. This This whole situation is so messy. It's so messy, right? We've got Abraham, we've got Sarah, they've got a promise. And God's going to give them a child of their dreams in their old age, and just blow the physical mind and do something that's beyond possible and do it anyway. And he's going to give them the seed of promise. That's going to be Isaac. And we're going to read about him in a few chapters, right? If you keep reading through Genesis. But Hagar enters the mix. She is Sarah's handmaiden, or she's Sarah's servant, Sarah's slave, if you want to put it that way. All right, but she's serving Sarah. And, most of you know the story, of course, but Sarah goes, God's not doing what he said, so let's intervene. Abraham, you go take Hagar, y'all go make a baby, and we'll satisfy all of this. We'll have a child running around, and we'll all be happy, because I'm obviously past the age, and obviously God's not listening, and obviously God's not acting. So Abraham's like, all right, right? He's game. So Hagar ends up pregnant, and then Sarah gets mad. Sarah gets snippy with Hagar. Hagar gets snippy with Sarah. And then Sarah gets snippy with Abraham. It was a messy situation. We watch this kind of stuff in movies all the time. If y'all watch that kind of movies, right? Boy, it just did not turn out like anybody thought. And it's a big mess. But you know what? Here's what stood out to me today as I was reading and rereading it again today. God didn't leave them in that sticky situation. As messy as it was, he didn't say, y'all crazy. I'm out of here. You know what? Forget I ever said anything. No, he didn't change his promise. He didn't change his actions. He didn't change his purpose. He just dealt with a sticky situation. And here we have Hagar in chapter 16, where she's run away because it's just not going as planned, right? And everybody's mad at everybody, and she's run away, and she's pregnant with Ishmael. This is the first time we find her meeting God, but it says that the angel of the Lord found Hagar and said, by the way, you're pregnant. You're going to have a child, and I want you to name him Ishmael. You know what Ishmael means? God hears. God hears. What an awesome thing to say to someone who is in a messy situation. She can't get out of it now. She's fixing to have a baby. It's Abraham's son, right? And she's still got Sarah to deal with. But he met her there. God didn't say, y'all got too messy for me. I try to stay out of messy situations. I try to stay out of them. But God didn't say, yeah, never mind, you guys. Never mind, right? He did not say that. He stayed right there. As a matter of fact, it says he found Hagar. He came into that messy situation on purpose just to restate his promise and to affirm Hagar as her child being his too, because we're all God's children, right? And he said, he's going to be a mighty nation. He is not going to be Isaac. He didn't take back what he said about Isaac. He didn't take back what he promised Abraham. He didn't change anything that he promised Abraham and Sarah, but he met Hagar right there in the middle of the mess and said, you're mine too. Y'all are all messy, but you're all mine, right? I love that about God. So no matter what kind of situation you're dealing with, whether you created it yourself because you said something you shouldn't have, or you did something you shouldn't have, or you went beyond what you should have done, said, argued, thought, acted on, right? It doesn't matter. He met Hagar, and Hagar was one part of the problem, because she had gotten snippy with Sarah, going, ha, 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 I'm pregnant, you're not, right? I mean, I don't know that she said it exactly like that, but you know what I mean. And so Hagar was kind of, she didn't just peacefully accept her situation. She acted on a little bit, right? And yet God, it says he found her. He didn't say, all right, you little snippy punk. He just said, Hagar, I still see you. I still hear you. Don't we need to know that today, that God still sees us, even if we're in something so messy and so sticky, even if we're part of the problem, God still sees us. He still hears us, and he still says, I got you. That's why I'm going to peace out today. Peace out, you guys. Have a great day. God's with you in your sticky situation. He is not going to leave you now. Have a great day. I'll see you again tomorrow.